Okay. I know you all ain't going to talk too much because I'm speaking to the human side of all of us right now. Because everybody want to feel good about X, Y, and Z. I'm getting all the likes. I have followers now. Yo, it's easy to have followers who don't call on you. You're really taking this thing on? I got followers. They don't call on you. One of you calling me could cause me to be sick for weeks. All of you calling me could cause me to want to give up this job or this call. When the people of Israel started calling Moses, he messed up. Followers, understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying you wouldn't have your likes and all of that, but having all these 1,000 likes and how many thousand likes, that don't make you. And don't let it get into your psyche that you become so discouraged. You don't have this. Listen to me. When engineering posted that up, that the folks could receive this on YouTube, you think I studying likes and likes? This is for Valley Kingdom Ministry friends and whosoever tune into us. And that's it, y'all. I'm not looking for likes. Because I'm not up here for likes. Listen to me. I'm here to feed the congregation God have entrusted. Anybody outside have privy to eat from off of our tables, whether they like it or not. I'm just trying to help us, y'all. So don't get angry with me if you find a ruffle in your feathers because you were on likes. Because it's a trend. Folks want to be loved. I want to be loved too. But the first lover must be the love of my soul. And when you become bona fide about the love of your soul, you would realize your likes would not be so much unless it's so much that will now say, hey, I'm on the same boat with you. So you got to know this thing, right? So watch it real good, because when you have likes, you make yourself a teacher. And now you have to watch your contents, what you're going to teach them. You have a responsibility now with all those who say, I like to follow you. And then you have to watch how much you display outside there. That's why Jesus had his likes. But he will not tell all those who likes where he going to pray. He went in remote areas because it's not for them to know certain things. And he did not invite them there. It's when they found out, then they found themselves there. But he didn't post it outside there. Not everything is for you to post. You see, we got to know kingdom rules, huh? And sometimes we just running with the whole destructive stuff like the world. But you got to know this. And it's important you know this and you know it well, that when you do it, you know, God, you told me send this out. So I sent it out, God. Let it reach those who need to eat this today. But you're not sending it out for likes, because you're going to mess your inner man up. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 17. The portion is set. Next week we're going to deal with how they dealt with it, because they look at it, they marvel at it. Benjamin there with his 5 portion, and Benjamin, listen, can't even understand why I have 5, but all I know is long time me ain't eat like this. Yo, listen, when this kind of favor drop on you, sometimes all you know is long time I ain't, and I don't have time for all this kind of stuff. What does mean? You know, eat. It's eating time. After the fact, when you all started to relate this back to me, that I could comprehend, and I said, but in truth, why he gave me more? I shouldn't get all this after the fact. But even though you don't fully understand, that doesn't mean to say God would not put it on you. Genesis chapter 17. How many of us read that whole chapter? Read that chapter and to look over some stuff. How many of us did that homework? We didn't? Okay. Chapter 17 of Genesis. Now, I want us to understand this. When God told Abraham to walk before him, it was a crucial season in his life now. Another season had begun. If, and you can go back, and I believe it might be in chapter 12, you would see where God appeared unto him and God did what he did and all of that. Chapter 15 again is where God made covenant with him and all of that, right? So there are different points where God made covenant with Abraham. Every time God is whether reminding and adding to what he has said before, it is done with a covenant. In essence, what God is saying, when I speak to establish. I don't speak to go back on. I speak to go forward and perform. That's why he says, when I send my word, I watch over to perform my word. So everything God has spoken is predicated on a covenant. So it's binding. To him, it's binding. To us, it should be binding. But he leaves that up to us. They call that free will. He is not going to come and rape that which he has put inside of you from the very beginning. He says, if you love me, you're going to keep my commands. So now in order to show that I love, I got to walk out because he says covenant. And so in chapters 17 now, this is after the fact that Ishmael is birthed. He have walked away from what God has said to him. And God now said, the season has now come where you need to walk before me. And you need to walk perfectly before me. Meaning you can't look to the left, neither the right. So it seems as though there's a season that God does allow us to just make blunders. No. There's no season for that. But God's grace and God loves absorb that. Hello, somebody. I want us to understand this because all of us here, every single one of us here, you know that there were times in your life where it's like, God, I feel I'm slipping away from you. Yes. God, are you with me, God? Right now I feel to go back into the world. We have all had the fights. From old to new, we have all had the fights, but God's grace still remains sufficient. When these fights come, even Apostle Paul spoke about the things. I don't find myself doing this thing, you know. Lord, I have to beat this part of me more, God. The fight. On the side of God, he says, I remember, but you are but dust. On the side of God, remember, you are flesh. That's on the side of God. And from that place is where he could absorb our weaknesses. But it does not rule what he has spoken. And he says, I have to perform this. So get back to your senses quickly. Hello, somebody. Get back to your senses quickly. I'm going to say it again. Get back to your senses quickly. I have to perform this. Time has gone. Now what I have to do now is hasten it. You have wasted time. No more wasted time now. When Abraham is 99. Look at how many years have passed. And God has spoken. Between 99 and 90 or 95. When God spoke to him, I think Sarah was 75. He could have been 100? No, not that time. We're going back. 75, that's it, the beginning number. Look at all the years that have passed. And God let him walk out. Now let me ask us, how many years have passed for you and I? Kairos meeting with God where he says, now, come to your senses and it's time to walk before me. Yeah. You have done you in all the seasons when you should have been doing me. You have done you. Are you ready now to walk before me? To walk before me, man of God, what does that mean? God is going to robe you as he has called you, and you must now walk your robe role before him. Come on, somebody. You cannot say you are married, but you're walking as though you're single. Hello. You cannot say you are a father and you're behaving as though you have no children. You cannot say you're a mother and you're behaving as though you have no children. You cannot say I have a job and you're behaving as though you don't. Come on, somebody. What am I saying? There were seasons and times in our lives where we act the best role of a fool. But a time come where you got to now come to your senses and say, this must stop. I need to stop this nonsense. Sometimes we need Alexander to show up with a warrant. Your picture to come up in order to say stop. You see, before it reached John public, God is going to be speaking to your heart in private. But you refuse to believe God's private conversation with you. Before anybody reached to the well, it was a private conversation with the Samaritan woman. It's she who went and told John public, come see the man. What if she did not receive in the time frame when no one would have come to the well? Then that time would have prolonged and they would have begun to come to that said well. Then they would have asked, what is Jew and this Samaritan doing chatting like that? It would have a different spin on the story. And God have been speaking to us in private, but we are refusing private conversation, private resolution, private reversal. We are refusing, and God said, okay, since you want to do this, just remember it is written, your sin going to find you out. But if you find it to be sin, then you'll bring it to me. But if you want to find it, it's not cool. God don't have a problem with that. Why? It is written. And since it is written, keep going every day. And you keep saying to yourself what you have been saying to you, you keep going. Are we getting this, y'all? So there comes a time when God says, now, I need you to hold this mantle as I have robed you. Believers, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the sons and I'm talking to the daughters. Are you walking out what God have dressed you in? Because if you are the president, we know when the president is moving. Before she became president, she drove her own self. When she became the president, she is driven. Because the office in itself says this is what comes to whoever comes in this office. Then she cannot fight that. Because if she decides to drive herself, those escorts had to follow that car, that van, that vehicle, wherever it goes. Why? That's the property of Trinidad and Tobago. You are no longer your own. So you cannot want to have your own way. The seed says you don't belong to yourself first. You belong to the nation first, and then you go home to your bed and sleep by yourself.